we can, oops. Okay. How do I go over here? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Need to make a post. Need to go here, go to live videos. This one, get shareable link, copy to clipboard, video.
Did we ever send out February?
No. So that's why I want this, so we can send out both videos together. March recap 2022. Dooley loved. We're live. Tap in. Live. Tags. And publish now. Okay. I gotta turn that down so you don't be looking.
You think I'd be looking?
Yes, I think you be looking. Hold on, babe. This has gotta be fixed.
What's wrong with it?
I saw it was all bunched up. There you go. There we go.
It's fine to me. Babe, what you doing? Babe,
No.
babe, what you... you doing
I'm a new
that?
person with these locks.
Babe. Is it recording? We on?
Yes. Yes, it's recording.
We begun?
We have begun. Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome.
The months just keep flying by.
Mm-hmm.
We're already in March. We're in April, as it was the day we recorded this video.
Yes.
It's April 1st.
Happy April 1st, babe.
Happy April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
May play some pranks on you today. But
Why Prince?
no, play some pranks.
Oh, I thought you said might play some Prince on you today. I was like, does he have a song?
No.
Okay.
Some pranks, babe.
Okay. I'm thinking about it. I'm going to keep my one eye open
Is that what you're going to do?
at all times.
You can't do that. That's not possible. That's what my mom would say. That's not possible. But we have March recap.
Mm-hmm.
All the amazing things that happened in March. I feel like March is always a full month.
Yes.
Kind of hit your groove in the year. I feel like in March, I always feel like January, February is kind of like, all right, it's a new year.
Yeah.
You're doing some stuff. And then March, you're kind of in it.
Yep.
You're in deep.
Because the first quarter is officially over.
It's the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So give us a recap, babe. How was the first quarter for you?
Wow, the first quarter has been good. I mean, I
Yeah.
know we did a February recap video, so this is more so about March. But March was full. You know, I think before we get into what's happening with Kaleo neighborhood, maybe let's just recap our Washington trip to D.C.
Yeah, that's right. We
Which
went
was
to Washington, D.C. the end of February, beginning of March.
February 28th through March 3rd,
Yeah.
to be exact.
Yeah.
And what a dope experience. I didn't even plan this, but we were going with Corazón, and I'm wearing the shirt. Check
Oh, look
that
at
out.
that. I'm
That's
wearing
so
a
cool.
Corazón shirt. I'm wearing
So-
a Kaleo shirt.
Yeah, look at that. So we were invited by an organization called Corazón, which maybe you can give a better understanding of what that organization is, because it was birthed out of neighborhood.
I feel like you probably could speak to it just as well as I could by
want me
now
to?
because we spent so much time. But I mean, I can still share that it's
Sure.
that they are a federation of Faith in Action. Faith in Action is a interfaith kind of network of community organizers that train people to community organize, that gather people to do that and encourage people from churches and different clergy to help influence people in their congregations to organize. And so a lot of times different groups, it's a nonpartisan group, so it's not, doesn't have allegiance to either party. And sometimes groups will like come alongside one issue, right? They say like, oh, mass incarceration, let's come alongside that issue. Let's come alongside this issue, where Faith in Action is interfaith because they say, no, let's come around our spirituality, and that's held by morals and values that push us into action. And so it's not really one party, right, that they're allegiant to, but they say we're allegiant to our morals and spirituality. And so Corazon's a federation of faith and action that was kind of birthed out of neighborhood ministries.
Yeah.
Neighborhood ministries is still kind of like the parent org to them.
We had a great time in DC. That was my first time going to the city. Seeing the Washington Monument. I was like, babe, remember when about Scandal? Remember that? Or remember when Spider-Man and also Spider-Man was saving his girlfriend?
Spider-Man. I was like, what?
So I mean, that's like my reference point is these iconic buildings that are associated with movies or things in media that I've seen that I remember. So it was really cool to be there for that, but also to be in the presence of a powerful city with so much history, and also to be there for something like Faith in Action in light of what we want to do and are doing with our lives as far as community development, wanting to learn how to do community organizing. Because that's a question I've always carried is I know how to talk about justice, but how do you mobilize a group of people to actually do something and make change locally in a local context? That's all of what Faith in Action was about, which is really cool. Yeah. And so it was like a 3-day impactful, like packed set of time.
Yeah. We were spoiled. I mean, we got there.
And we got there late.
We went with the group. Yeah, we got there a little bit later, so we missed some of the opening night. It was that like Monday night, right? Is when we first got in there. And yeah, we got super blessed. We came with a group of people from neighborhood.
We were the only couple that came together.
Yeah, we were the only couple that came together. Yeah. And so other people, some of them had a room with someone else. That was completely random to them. Well, we got.
I was a little nervous when that started happening. I was like, "Hold on now, hold on. I ain't coming here to be room with somebody I ain't know."
But we got super lucky, and they put us like in like a suite together.
Yeah, she
like
handed
a
us
honeymoon
the keys,
suite type
she
thing.
was like, "You're in the." I don't know if she said presidential suite.
She said something sweet.
I was like, "Hold on now."
Yeah, and I was kind of, and we had just that week before for just a getaway. We stayed at a suite at a resort.
Oh, was that the week before?
It was like the week before. Wow. Yeah, we had stayed at that resort, and that suite was kind of like, it wasn't crazy.
It was the Arizona Grand Resort and Spa.
And don't call them out now. Yeah.
Why not?
But it wasn't. It wasn't anything that special.
It's not like they're sponsoring us.
But they might. But and so I was kind of thinking of something that in my head too when I heard her say sweet. I was like, oh, it's like what we just stayed in, which wasn't anything that crazy. But then what we did walk into was like, oh no, this is super nice.
Yeah, it was so nice.
We had a great view of the monument.
Heck yeah, there was a kitchenette area,
a huge TV,
a living room, big bedroom, bathroom with not a hot tub, but like a
just
tub.
A regular tub.
Yeah,
that was big and a nice shower.
And this hotel, we stayed in the Washington Hotel. It was an older hotel that had been renovated, and so the elevators were probably 4 feet by 4 feet, it seemed like to me.
Yeah, there's only 3
elevators. So
elevators.
everything was small. Like even some of our colleagues' rooms were very small, very tiny. And so when we got into our room, we're like, they put us in this huge suite.
Yeah, this is nice.
So much space.
This is nice.
So I was like, babe, I cannot believe this. And like Alicia, who's the director of Corazón, was kind enough to really take care of everybody. So we didn't pay for anything.
Yeah,
we were just showing up to experience community organizing, as Alicia is rebuilding the team of Corazón in light of it starting just before the pandemic and all of that. And so she was exposing us that we might pray and discern how we might want to be involved in Corazón as clergy in our different contexts and spaces in the city of Phoenix. But anyways, that first night I was like, whoa, babe, this is so dope. Like, how is this happening to us? But
you were so excited.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was thrilled. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, and you talk about that's what stuff that your parents dreamed for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Dreamed for
their
kids.
Growing up, my parents always had some crazy story about how God... Why'd you talk? My parents always had some crazy story about how God like really blessed them above and beyond or gave them something that they weren't expecting, or just felt like God's love was kind of following them and his favor was following them in places and spaces that they went to in light of being Black. And just like, yeah, favor just doesn't, the nation we live in is not created for Black people. That's something we already know. So then to go into spaces and places and favor be shown towards you is like a God thing, is a divine thing. And so I think that's something that my parents have always dreamed for us and all of their kids, is they, live and have marriage and have kids and stuff like that. And so it was really cool. I was thinking of, man, I feel like this is a answered prayer for my parents, of something they've always wanted for me to experience new things with my husband. And then God just kind of blessed us all along the way.
Super meaningful thing.
Was super meaningful.
Super meaningful time.
So it was a good time that first day.
Yeah. The second day they had all the trainings where we broke up into different groups and different trainings and different tracks they had, where they had a clergy track speaking specifically to clergy and their part and role in community organizing. They had like organizing 101.
That's what I went to.
That's what you went to. They had leadership and organizing, which is what I went to. And they had like a track for the directors too, and people who are kind of like operations admin people too. They had tracks for. And so, yeah, that was super impactful. And I know I walked away from that time of like, okay, I have a good understanding now of community organizing and of what Corazón is and does and what they're really trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is what I felt like I walked away from that day and that time. And where I was at, the track I was at, I felt like I had a super good understanding, just laying out what the difference is between like activism, being an activist, being a mobilizer, mobilizing people, and the community organizing. There's actually like a difference between those three. And like community organizing is more of like seeing what the interest is of the people you're gathering together.
The shared interest.
They called it the shared self-interest, right? They have all this jargon and all these terms that we kind of learned while we were there. But figuring out what the shared interest is with the people that you're gathering together, and then kind of growing them up as leaders to them themselves, kind of like, all right, here's what we want to do to accomplish our goal. You're the person kind of like literally organizing them and organizing their thoughts and organizing them together. You're doing that. And I'm like, man, that's super dope. And they said this too in the training I was in. They said pastors make for great organizers because they can gather people. A lot of times pastors are good at gathering people, which I was like, oh, that's so cool. But in the clergy track, though, they talked more specifically. It sounds like I wasn't in the clergy track, but the pastor at neighborhood, Pastor Jimmy, was in it, and he was kind of talking to me about it. It's cool. It's like smoke rising up. But Jimmy was saying how the clergy track was about how clergy and ministers help create the imagination of people, that they're kind of painting the picture of like, this is what the world is supposed to be like. This is what the world's meant to be like. And they're painting people's imaginations. For that was kind of their focus, it sounded like, for their track, which was powerful. Like, because that was the track I was kind of wanting to go to, because that's what I'm doing for like the youth here in South Central Phoenix and downtown Phoenix. That's kind of what I'm doing for them. And so but we decided to like divide and conquer and go to different tracks and then share with one another is how I ended up in my track.
For me in my track, it was organizing 101, and it was everything that I hoped that would be. 3 different teachers, each of them had an hour or 2 each. Some of them were a bit more interactive than others, but they literally broke down what is power and why is power important? Who has power in your local city, in your local context? Why do you want power? All of those types of things. How do you gather people? Like, what is the mobilization look like? And how do you begin to do that and to begin to build a team of people that will do something? And then how do you create a campaign and have a successful campaign? Meaning, in my local city, in my local context, I want my local legislator to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. How do I actually mobilize a large group of people to see that thing happen? And so the organizer or the teacher of that campaign class, the last segment of Organizing 101, her name was Alex. she's a lesbian. I'm not sure what her pronouns are, but she did say that she was married to a woman. And she was just fiery. She was probably the best teacher because she was super interactive. Yeah. And she was responsible for a successful campaign that happened in Oakland, California, low-income school that wanted to build a soccer field because they wanted to get kids off the street, build a soccer field in hopes that it would better the community. And they had all these lists of reasons why. So she really broke it down like so well. And it got a lot of news, media attention, and it also had a documentary that was done about the story. And so, I mean, I was just like, wow, really impressed with the way that they did that track. And I felt like I got all the answers that I was looking for to understand what community organizing is. Because several months ago, you guys know we went to Kansas City about community development. And so there's this community development space and community organizing space, and trying to figure out, okay, like, wow, now I have a really great, robust understanding of what these two worlds are and how it's a privilege that we got these opportunities to go to these two major conferences and have robust understandings of that. But then to be there present with someone like Kit Danley, founder of Neighborhood Ministries, and being able to, who we also went to CCDA with, the conference in Kansas City. And then I feel like she is the embodiment, and Neighborhood is the embodiment of an organization that does both really well, or attempts to, as hard as it is, to do both. And I'm like, wow, this is really great. And I think for us as a family, gives us a good vision of next steps for us moving forward in this work of community development and organizing and whatever that means for us.
That community organizing, right, is kind of speaking that truth to power. And there's a little bit of advocacy, while the community development is like, oh, how can we offer services that just isn't charity, but like services for the long run, where we're actually empathizing, meeting with the people, meeting their needs. And so, it's given us like a lot of good language and understanding. I'm like, okay, what's that look like for our future? And then the day after,
third day,
was super cool. The last really day, we had like one more day where we kind of just debriefed everything. But this was really the last day where we did anything. Is we went on a march.
Their day of action.
Their day of action is what it was called. The day of action, where we marched in DC, and that was really cool. We stopped by I think it was the First AME church. And it was really powerful. The guy who spoke there, who's the pastor there, kind of saying like, man, we're still here. We're still going to be here. All this stuff that's going on. That was a pretty big theme of the conference, I feel like. And it was like in light, too, of things going on with Ukraine, because we're up there, too, during the State of the Union
which was
address Biden gave. And hearing the president's words from Ukraine, it's like, hey, we're here. We're still here. It's kind of like another kind of theme that kind of carried over, I feel like, at the conference we went to. And then the second place we marched to was like, there's like the church. I can't remember the name of it. It's like Irish something church, but it's the church that Trump held his Bible upside down at.
I think it's known as the President's Church.
Yeah, they call it the President's Church.
Because it's just outside the White House.
It's just outside the White House, but I can't remember specifically what it's like. Irish something Christian church. I can't remember the specific name for it. But we marched there, and that was cool. And then Tanya, who's the youth director of the youth center that I work with, spoke there, and that was really cool. She was on the news. I had an interview with that, and that was super cool. And then we marched down Black Lives Matter Boulevard.
I never would have thought I would have had an opportunity to see Black Lives Matter painted out in yellow paint, like, and the letters are big, and it takes up the whole street right up to the White House. In light of what happened to George Floyd, like, I saw all of that on social media in real time as it was happening, but never thought I would find my way to be marching on the actual street with community organizers and activists on the day of action, because that day was also about meeting with our local legislators, because the federations had already organized meetings and requested meetings with local officials. And then each federation had these meetings, and we were all pushing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And that, just like to see all of that done in real time with over 375 other clergy was like, what a powerful moment. And it was, I I've never been in a multi-faith space like that, or a multi-faith conference that names themselves as multi-faith, but then because they are publicly outright a multi-faith space, they honor each other's faiths very, very well. And there's no feeling of we're trying to convert someone into our faith, or our faith is the best faith.
Yeah.
There's none of that, which I think a lot of white evangelical spaces do that.
Yeah.
And just Christianity over time has always done that.
There's more of a space of like learning from one another.
What can we learn from one another? So there was even some really great spiritual practices throughout the conference that they had us do that were multi-faith spiritual practices, which was really cool. But yeah, that march down Black Lives Matter Boulevard up to the White House, and then we were led by a black female pastor activist. I can't remember her name. But she was singing I want to call it a Negro spiritual, but I think it's just an old gospel song.
I don't even know if it's that.
You remember how it went?
What it, yeah, I do.
Sing it.
You sing it.
I don't remember.
You don't remember how it went?
I don't remember.
She screamed into the little, what do they
Megaphone?
have? The megaphone, when she said, "Solid as a rock,
solid as a rock,
rooted like a tree,
rooted like a tree.
I am here,
standing strong,
in my rightful place."
in my rightful place. Wow, that
She just did that over and over again, and there was a call response just like that.
It was powerful.
Yeah,
Because we were literally standing around a tree, singing this song about being rooted like a tree in front of the White House right before we go meet with our legislators, requesting that they pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, that was the big focus, was the voting rights.
The day after the State of the Union.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what is happening? You know? It was so cool.
Yeah, a year after.
So, and then we moved,
Craziness.
talk about how that was for us, like sitting with our local officials. And it was all virtual for us in Arizona.
Yeah, so we sat with our local legislators here in Arizona. We didn't end up meeting with the people in office, but met with people from their offices who worked on different focuses like immigration, different things. And so we first met with Gallego's office, who's over the district we live in. I can't remember the district number right now, but over around like downtown Phoenix and South Central a little bit, Ruben Gallego. And at Neighborhood Ministries, we already have a relationship with him in his office. And so, again, the focus was like kind of voting rights. I think we met with their person who focuses on immigration, but we still just asked some questions, talked with her. And that went well. And we were just talking to each other. And I think the conference had asked us to ask all of our officials to look at a letter that was written by the Black Caucus, and to like side with the Black Caucus in that letter that was written to the DOJ, to the Department of Justice. And so we were talking to everyone, telling them to do that. And the Gallego's office was pretty responsive to that. We were all in our honeymoon suite room doing it. The team, the Arizona kind of Phoenix team that we came up with, we were all in our room doing it. And we were meeting over Zoom. So we were like, press a mute when one person speaks, the other person speaks. And Lisa, who's the director, this is Erin's first time doing it. This is probably like my third or fourth time doing it. In the past, I got to more of kind of like watch and observe. And so this is me asking questions and interacting a little bit more. And then we met with Kristen Sinema's office, who's our senator, one of our senators here in Arizona, and she's been a little bit MIA, missing in action, and trying to play a little bit of both sides, and hasn't really been that vocal in her stance when it comes to some of the voting rights bills and stuff that are being passed. And so we met with someone from her office, a guy who...
His name was Erin, actually.
No? I think the guy named Erin was from Bigg's office.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Bigg's office. I can't remember the name of this other dude, but he was kind of, you had asked him a question, and he was kind of filibustering you.
Yeah.
He was kind of just talking.
It was
Lisa
wild.
was like, interrupt, like he's filibustering, and he interrupted.
He was like, ask her about how his boss's mentor was John Lewis, how she said her boss or her mentor was John Lewis. Ask him about that. I'm like, okay, unmute. How about your mentor said that John Lewis was her mentor? Can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, because this is her first time. Alicia's kind of like
so
coaching.
Nervous.
Alicia, the director of Corazon's kind of like coaching.
And Alicia has a lot of faith in who we are as human beings, which I love. Yeah. But I get like nervous if I'm not fully confident in what I'm saying or what I'm talking about. Like I feel a little like nervous. But she's like, you got it. Ask him.
But you did great.
I appreciate it, babe. Yeah.
And then the last person you met with was the office from Bigg's office.
I did not
Biggs,
like
which
it.
I can't remember again his specific district number, but it's like East Valley, so some parts in Chandler and Gilbert, I think, is what he's over. And it
was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
Yeah, it was. Imagine you telling someone about how something is deeply impacting your lived experience from day to day in the world, and they don't give a shit about you or your life or how hard your life is. That's exactly what that meeting with Bigg's office was. Yeah. He did not give 2 cents about anything about what we had to say or the lived experience of the people that we were even representing. He was like, I know that was an issue in the past in history, but I don't see it as an issue today. Yeah. We're like, we're literally telling you this is an issue, that people are having trouble voting, and these are the people that need to vote to make their lived experience better in the world, and you're telling me that you can't do nothing about it, and you're telling me that it doesn't matter, and you're teling me that your hands are off? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it got really heated, honestly. Like, Alicia was really stepping in and pushing him. To
and we knew that one was going to be a little bit tougher. Yes, and so because of that, Alicia, the director, and then another person on their staff at Corazón named Rick were kind of the main 2 people talking, impressing him. Yeah,
and we were just really observing.
Yeah, we were kind of more observing and just nodding our heads.
Yeah, it was wild.
And stuff.
Even Kit stepped in there,
too. Kit stepped in later and asked a question, too, and pushed him a little bit, but...
That was the last meeting. So then after we get done with that meeting, it's just like silent for a little bit. And everyone's taking a deep breath. And then we're starting to debrief. And people are moved to tears, myself included. Because it was in that moment where I'm like, okay, I get why being a clergy who talks about Jesus being one who cares about justice, because it's always been true. It's not a new thing. This has been the thing, and cares for the marginalized is what Jesus is about, is so important, because if you don't, you produce people like the dude from Biggs' office, because guaranteed he's been to some church in some form of his life, like guaranteed he goes to church somewhere, is crazy to me. And these pastors, these clergy are producing people like that that won't even hear the lived experiences of the marginalized. That's all Jesus was ever about. So what the hell are we talking about right now?
And I got discipling into white supremacy and whiteness.
Yes, babe.
People being discipled into that.
Yes, 100,000%. So I got so fired up with passion about this is the problem, and this is why I'm pastoring, and this is why I say the things that I say, and this is why I'm as progressive as some people think that I am, and this is why I won't back down from what I'm saying, because people keep making disciples that are discipled into white supremacy and think that they are living a Jesus Christ life by literally oppressing people in the margins. How in the world do you think that that is of faith? It is beyond me. Even now, like, you see my passion. I'm raising my voice and using my hands because it is beyond me. I was so distraught from that meeting, but also fired up. I was like, babe, like, this is why we have to pastor better. We have to pastor well. This is why pastors like that I've had previously in my life, in my opinion, did a terrible job of discipling people to care about the margins. Come on. That's all Jesus did. And how in the world are we so fixated on how comfortable you are, or what promotion you're going to get, or how much increase you're going to have in your life, and this prosperity gospel stuff, and you don't even want to care for those who don't have food or those who don't have homes?
Come on now, babe.
Let me sit back.
So you preaching now? Man. You preaching?
I'm fired up about
that's extra for them, babe.
Listen,
they need to come on Sunday to get that.
I'm freaking fired up about it. Anyways, I digress. Go ahead.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's true. That's true.
Makes me mad.
Yeah, but I think that was like that moment, and I think because the moment we did have that debrief after that was a pretty raw moment where it was just like I mean, all this work too, when you talk about community art, is very like boots on the ground. You're dealing with the things face up. It's like like people can say like, oh, let me pray for justice or let me do this for justice, but it's very so action oriented.
Yeah.
So it's like you're facing the issues and things like head on.
Yes.
And the people who are against you and against the issues head on.
Yeah.
And so it becomes very real.
Yes.
In the community organizing space.
There's names and faces to the enemies or people who are working directly against you. You actually talk directly to them.
Yeah, you actually are talking with them. It's
not a philosophical way of being. It's actually, this is names and faces. Humanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's a different space. But it's like, man, it's cool. And I know part of Corazon's heart is like, well, how can we build people up who want to engage like that?
Yeah.
In these congregations.
Yeah.
I know it was a big takeaway. And like that Moses who's going to Pharaoh saying, let my people go, and being that advocate of like
100%.
someone's got to go to Pharaoh, right? And do all that. And so it's like, who are those people within our spaces?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was good.
It's a great trip. And
it was a really good trip.
It was
I
also
came back inspired.
I came back super inspired. I'll save that little bit for another one. I think I want to stop this video, babe, and just let it be a Washington recap video.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
And that's Washington, D.C.
All right.
for you, and then we'll give a full March update in another video.
Stop recording, stop streaming.